The land covenant of Jehovah with Israel. The covenant of the land that Father gave to Israel, we find in the teaching, in the giving of the Ten Commandments. But we find here in chapter 15, verse 18 through 20, where Father he promised the land to Abraham. And I'm reading this, I'm looking at a situation here with a question about the nations that were removed from the land because of their wickedness, and an unmentioned people that I want to ask about, and that's the Philistines. Now here we read in chapter 15, verse 18, that it was indeed Jehovah, King of the universe, King, Creator, Ruler, Judge of the entire universe, who laid claim to this land for a special purpose and gave to Abraham a promise. He said that he gave this land. If you read it, he says, Natatiy et Haaretz. I gave the land. He said, to your seed I have given this land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. The Canaanites and the Kenizzites and the Kadmonites and the Hittites, the Perizzites and the Rephaim, and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. Yet when the children of Israel, 215 years of captivity, actually 430 years after the covenant was made, and 215 years they were actually in Egypt, they were headed to the promised land. And according to this verse in chapter Exodus, Shemot 13, verse 17, that Father said that Father did not lead them through the land of the Philistines, the Plishtim, although that was near, for God said that lest the people repent when they see war and they return to Egypt. Now, the Philistines, they had land on the border of Egypt, and so that the people would have had to gone through them to get to the promised land. So we have this question: was that land given? Was that land not given to Israel, or they simply were not ready to take it yet because they didn't have any weapons? The only thing they had was their children, the clothes on their back. They had some jewelry that they had received, and they had other kneading bowls and and their cattle, but they didn't have any weapons. They didn't get any weapons until after Pharaoh's army tried to follow them through the Gulf of Aqua, the Red Sea. We call it the Red Sea, though it is north of the Red Sea. They were drowned, and we have the evidence now. You can go online and see videos of the drowned army of Pharaoh. And the weapons they washed on shore, so the children were able, after singing, and they saw the weapons washed up. I actually wrote that song down. I transcribed the music for the song Moses and Miriam, and I have it available on my website. But this is very interesting that the Philistines were not mentioned at the first. And so I want to do a little bit of discovery here. So we read the first mention in the Bible of the land of the Philistines, and it is Plishtim, in chapter 21 of Bəreshiyt, Genesis, verse 32. 2, we see that the king Avimelech, in America we call it Abimelech, they returned to the land of the Philistines. This case. So now this comes the question: where did these Philistines come from, and why they were not mentioned in the land contract that Father gave? Question: did the Philistines have land that was not part of the covenant, not included in the land covenant, or did they enter the land later and are irrelevant? They were to the land covenant. Now, archaeological evidence has found that the people of the Philistines have the same DNA, not of the land of the people of Canaan, the people, Semitic peoples, but actually they matched the people in Sicily, and so they were more like ancestors of the Romans, which I find it. I think it may be not a coincidence that the Roman Empire has been such enemies of Israel throughout all of written history, and even today they haven't been so friendly. They've been anyway. So the Romans, they actually named after destroying the temple. By 36 AD, they squashed, I think, the last big uprising, and they renamed that area Palestine. And the English, the Great Britain, they went to also call it Palestine and put it all the books, all the history, and all the maps. They want to name the land Palestine, although they had no authority, because the ruler of the universe calls it Israel, and his word is above the nations. So no man has authority to change what Jehovah has ordained. But still we have a question that I'm not qualified to answer, that I'm putting on the table for archaeology and people who study ancient writings can look and see. But I'm looking at the Bible, and I see that it's a possibility. So there's 13 years from the time of this covenant being given to the time of the birth of Isaac. Now, we read during that time, while Sarah was pregnant, they went down and to Abimelech, and so here we find the mention of the Philistines. And now the word name Philistine means invader. So it's a strong possibility, high probability, that the nations, the peoples in that area gave them that name. They probably didn't name themselves Philistines. That was probably a name that they were given by others, since the word means invader. And also would mean that they're not from that area and don't belong in that area. Now we can look to the invasions of other armies like Nebuchadnezzar for why the Philistines no longer exist. They were completely destroyed. So now the current political situation, where they're trying to call it, it's back in not too long ago, they tried to create a Palestine state. There were some wanted to say that they want to have a Palestine state within Israel. However, the people that are party to that push movement, not the Romans, not the French, not the Germans, not the English, but the people that have invaded the area right now and waging war against Israel, Most of they start from Egypt and Libya and different places of radical Islamic jihadists. They have shown no regard for building a city or a nation or kingdom or concern for a true state, a solution, quote unquote, but their only purpose is to destroy Israel, and they haven't done anything to build any cities or infrastructure for the land, the use of the land. And basically, all in want to destroy the land. But the question we have is this land, does this land belong to Israel or does it not? And I believe that according to the Bible, it does belong to Israel. But I'm putting the question on the table about, for this reason, that Philistine wasn't mentioned in the original covenant. And was it because they didn't exist, or was there a piece of land there that Father allowed for the Philistines to own? And now I'm going to set aside my opinion, because when you ask a question, you're waiting for an answer. So I'm going to share this video with some scholars that may be able to give a more informed presentation of the answer than I am able. Thank you.